I usually don't record these intros for episodes of Serious Talk, but I felt that this was important to clarify in case you don't have the time to watch the whole 2-hour video. In this video, I interview Ruby, a friend of mine who is an escapee from the cult of Micosay, which is a Boy Scout-affiliated cult that involves nudity-based rituals where elderly men paint young naked boys as young as 11 with body paint for strange ceremonies. This cult participates in indoctrination behaviors such as long-term starvation or fasting, silence oaths, physical and emotional abuse, and illegal child labor in order to form a sense of dependency and fear among the young boys and adult men who work and live on the camp during the summer. There are not many articles on what goes on in this area due to the heavy amount of fear tactics used by those who run the tribe of Micosay. Ruby is one of the few people who experienced this cult and was able to escape and move forward. She's currently going through a rough time right now trying to escape a very toxic household. If you can, I would appreciate if you helped Ruby by donating to the GoFundMe in the description. Give her all the love you can. And if you're an adult, I'd recommend you look at some of her literature. Thanks for listening, enjoy the show, and remember, stay safe, stay smart, stay informed, and I'll see you next time. Internet, and welcome to Serious Talk, the only podcast on my channel entirely dedicated to talking about shit no one else seems to really want to discuss. Today, we have Ruby. Say hello to the internet, Rube!
Hiya, I'm Ruby. I am a writer, but I do not make art. I suck at drawing.
Disagree. Writing is a form of art. Ruby is here to discuss with me probably the most interesting thing I will ever cover on my channel in the history of ever. And this is coming from somebody who has covered convention predator rings and conspiracies and revolutions. About a week ago today, I think between 4 and 7 days ago, Ruby and I were hanging out in a server, and she made it. She made the statement that she was a member of a cult as a child. Ruby, why don't you give just a brief explanation to the people?
So basically, I was in Boy Scouts as a kid because of, family pressure and such. I went to a camp called Bartle every year, and at that camp, there was a group called the Tribe of Micosay. And basically what they did was, if you went to that camp, they would, the people who came back again and again would get pulled into the group through a set of trials, as they put it, where they basically use every cult induction tactic in the book, like making sure you can't get enough to eat, you can't get good sleep, you can't talk to anyone or gesture to anyone while having to work at the same time and do massive amounts of physical labor for them. And then you join the super special group that pressures you to come back every time. And they don't tell you you can say no to this. And if you try to say no, you'll be judged harshly by everybody in your troop. So it's basically a pressure system to keep people active in the group.
For those for the uninitiated in the community, this pressure system is often utilized by sex cults. If any of you follow my friend Ruza, she was recently harassed by a brony sex cult. So if you want more information on just how fucked up cults are in general, I recommend looking at those videos. But this specific cult is a racist appropriation of multiple Native American cultures, utilized in order to enable powerful men from the Boy Scout community to abuse kids. Just straight up kids.
Yeah, they get kids in nothing but underwear, a headband and loincloths with shoes all the time. It's so fucking creepy. And once you turn 20, then you have to put on clothes every time and wear like a special type of clothing. But no, if you're a kid, they have you literally almost fucking naked. So, super fucking creepy. We actually have like pictures of the old stuff that I had to wear while I was part of the group. It's creepy as hell just to look at this point.
I'm trying to find some of the images of what they made y'all wear.
If you just scroll up slightly in our Discord history, it's literally right there.
Wonderful, thank you. No, I mean of kids wearing it, not just your
Oh yeah,
uniform. I
know
believe you posted a link in the server where we met. Hold on.
Yeah, no, I posted an image here. I got it.
No, a link to like an article about like a propaganda article about the tribe of Micosay, which is the name of the cult.
Yeah, there's a bunch of it's all right there. Everything we discussed last week's still in the voice chat server.
No, that's the wrong. Let me find the one. Oh, I no longer have a screen up for viewing. To the people watching, it looks like we went blank, but we didn't. Okay, audio halfway back. I have to switch layouts so that I can open up to show my browser so that people can see. Mind speaking a little bit, Ruby, so I can make sure it's picking you up?
Yeah, here I am.
Oh, you are clipping. I'm gonna turn you down a little bit. Your gain was way too high.
I do tend to be quite a loud person. Streamlabs.
Window capture. There we are. Alright. So for the people watching, this is an example of some of what the kids who go to these camps are forced to wear. Native American regalia, and if you look in the background, there is a shirtless miner. The young boys and people of other identities who are forced to pretend to be boys in this group are forced to wear almost nothing. It's I believe you explained it as a loincloth, underwear, and shoes.
Yep, it's basically you wear shoes, you wear your underwear, and you wear the cloth that they have you make yourself using supplies that they sell.
So they make you purchase the supplies for the clothes you're allowed to wear at camp.
Yes. And any other supplies you need to fulfill your roles they dictate to you. You also have to buy from them so you can fulfill the role that they want you to for free.
So things like
the like flint and steel that you have to buy from them. There's the clothing supplies that you have to get from them. There's the drumstick looking thing that I sent you a picture of that you have to buy from them and then make there in their like little workshop. And then they have just a bunch of other like very specific to them merchandise that you can buy, along with requests for donations from members of their group.
So, similar to Scientology, they make you financially invest in them in order to perpetuate your membership.
That's like, other than the racism and clear pedophilia, it's a massive money making scheme, because this is basically a plan that they use to keep people coming back year after year and making more and more money. Like, after the group was introduced to the camps, profits soared higher than they had ever been before in the past.
Of course they did.
And then
No, go ahead.
And then they just kind of consistently have stayed that way ever since. This got so bad that I didn't live even remotely close to the camp. I lived in Texas at the time, and my troop would drive 12 hours over the course of 2 days to get to this camp, just to get involved with this group. So, if you want to know how dedicated their following is made to be, it's that hardcore. You are also expected to identify yourself as part of it while at normal meetings, because they would have you wear like specific clothing on your scouting uniform, just to like signify that you were a part of the group and everybody else who didn't have it wasn't. So it led to a real feeling of the haves and have-nots in my troop, because it's basically everybody wanted to have one, because anyone who did have one was treated as superior over everybody who did.
A brief explanation of the accusations of pedophilia that we've been making for quite a bit now, actually. This is an excerpt from an article from 2004 called "Brave Never Tells." Ned Lauver, program director at Camp Anglican and a pipestone holder, had a similar reaction when I called him. This is in reference to the interviewer or the author calling members of the tribe of Micosay to ask for information about allegations of child abuse within the cult. Camp. Be careful. If you break the first password, you may never be able to set foot in the ISH again. The ISH, or Indian Shower House, is a small secluded facility located up a service road across from camp. Only those who have completed all 5 years of Pipestone may enter. Each Friday night in the summer, 100 to 200 men and boys, some as young as 15, visit the Indian Shower House to get dressed for the night's ceremonies. They are the volunteers who will scare the shit out of about 2,500 Boy Scouts over the course of the season. Until at least the late 90s, Friday night at the ISH would begin with the spaghetti feast. Men would strip naked and sit outside the building eating pasta. Then they would cover their bodies with masonry paint, helping each other out with those hard-to-reach places before donning loincloths. When women began earning pipestone, this changed a bit. Now there is a partition so that you can't see into the shower. A secret is better kept behind high walls. I was approached by someone in the showers as a pipestone holder and ex-staff member of Algakin, who does not want to be identified. It happened at the end of the night about 2 a.m. when everyone was rinsing off paint. All this red crap was falling off their bodies. It's hard to tell who's who. He used an innuendo. He said, "Do you need help getting some of the paint out of your ass?" I quickly said no. I was 17. He reported the incident to a staff member, who then alerted Buckeye Council, but no charges were leveled. The thing is, I can't identify him. I don't want to ruin someone's life. Sexual abuse could easily happen, and there's no way to stop that from happening in some situations, says Bleakney, also recalling the practices at ISH. Bleakney is a high-ranking former member of the tribe of Micosay. It's There are multiple allegations that I was able to find within this article against multiple anonymous and former members of sexual harassment within the ISH and abuse of the constant privacy between adult men and young boys. The youngest members of this group are as young as 11, with high-ranking adult members being as old as in their 50s. There being a literal shower house where grown men cover children in body paint while they are completely naked should be enough for some of you to realize why we believe this is a pedophile cult. I'll be putting links in the description to articles explaining some of the egregious and predatory behavior going on in this area. Ruby and I have not been able to find anything about what has gone on in that camp since I think about 2008.
Yeah, 2008 to I think the last time we found any recorded like expose on the group was 2014, because there was that one article I sent you, the literal one called "The Cult of Micosay" was made in 2014. And that's the last time I have been able to find any information of the group that isn't directly what they say about themselves.
From what you have shared with me and what I've been able to find, there is quote unquote fasting or forced starvation of the young scouts at the camp. Like, they're literally emotionally blackmailed into not eating. Was that something you had to endure when you were a member?
Yeah, here, I'll just go through what they did to you for the 2 major years of, like, being inducted into the group, because you had to go twice to get fully inducted. Because there was Brave, and then there was Warrior, and you had to go twice to get Warrior, and then everything else was just paint levels. So they claim that there's only 2 ranks in the group, when in reality, there are several ranks after that, but they claim that everybody's equal after the second one. The Brave year, you go to the campfire meeting at like the 3rd day of camp, and they take away the people that they want to make braves. They basically lecture you about their bullshit. Like, I can't remember the exact words they used to describe what the Micosay was to them, but they basically talk about what the cult's story is, and then they send you off to bed, and you can't talk or communicate with anyone for the rest of the night. And then the next morning, they take you and make you do physical manual labor all day long, continuously still not able to talk. And this isn't like community service projects. You don't get service hours for this. You're just working for the camp, basically.
And these are children as young as 11, correct?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the youngest I ever saw was 13 at the camp I went to, because the camp in that article, there's 2 camps in the group. The Pipestone camp is one group, and the one I was at is the other. The youngest at my camp was about 13 to 14 for induction, because I'm pretty sure that's around the age that I was. Of all age ranges doing this manual labor for the camp, and it's like you going around and collecting wood for the fires. You're going around and you're lugging like tons of gravel. My second year, like, the big project that they had us do is they had us build an entire another layer for one of their areas, hauling literal thousands of pounds worth of gravel back and forth between the areas, getting several, probably like $10,000 to $20,000 worth of paid labor for entirely free, out of these kids who can't even talk to each other while they work or communicate. They kind of just have to look at each other and move around each other in a way that they don't get in each other's way. And like for the first year, you're not allowed to communicate at all. And in the second year, you're allowed to use a specific form of quote unquote Native American Sign Language to communicate with each other.
And they
which
don't
is
explain what tribe's sign language this is at all, do they?
No, not at all. Because there's the reason I put the air quotes on. It's like they never even acknowledge that the fact of the matter is, even on their websites, they legally have to acknowledge that this is just based on the traditions of all the Native American tribes. It's not based, in fact, off of anything, and it's just horrible amounts of cultural appropriation for the sake of manipulation.
So
and
it's a homogenized racist perspective of Native culture.
Yep.
Why am I not surprised? Especially since they refer to themselves as Indians a lot. And yes, there are Native American groups and individuals who have reclaimed the term Indian, but I never feel like that's an appropriate term for white people to use. And
yeah,
as my viewers have seen from the pictures I have shared, these bitches are white.
yeah, they're like there is no, like, the thing is, they want rich families. That's what they want. They want people with money who they can guarantee will come back for a long, long time. And sadly, in the system we have, that's mostly white families.
So we've gone over the humiliation that they put you through by making you wear nothing but a loincloth, underwear, and shoes. The cultural appropriation, such as the dances that they force the kids to perform at events, and the mass appropriation of indigenous cultures, homogenizing them into one big homunculus of racism, let's put it that way. And we've gone over the predatory nature of the isolation that these individuals experience vis-a-vis things like the shower house and the oath of silence that the camp members are sworn to. Would you say that these individuals use their position as high-ranking members of Boy Scout culture in order to allow them to get away with abusing these kids?
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing. What we discovered is they're not even legally associated with the Boy Scouts of America. They just latch themselves on to a branch organization of the Boy Scouts of America so that they can claim to be a part of it, because the way they say it is it was founded by an Eagle Scout, not actually legally part of the Boy Scouts of America. It's just associated with the Order of the Arrow, which is an actual scouting thing that's actually attached to Scouts at the hip. So they basically manipulate the truth in order to gain a sense of credibility so that they can manipulate and harass young children into doing manual labor for them for free and to keep coming back over the years.
Interesting. So, when we refer to this as a cult, it's more than just oaths of silence and indoctrination. What behaviors did the superiors within this organization enforce upon scouts within their ranks in order to foster the sense of loyalty found in the cult?
Um, they would make you tie your relationship with your family into the cult, which is a big reason on why it didn't really work on me, and I was able to realize years later because I have no interest in my family. So even at the time, I was just claiming that I was. It's like they want you to like treat your mother well because it's what God would want and that kind of thing. They attach it to religion and loyalty to your family so that you associate those ideals with Micosay.
So, in addition to appropriating Native American culture, they also appropriate and warp scripture.
Yes, and it's very clearly Christian scripture. Like there is no mistaking it. They're like they have a during a Sunday they have like prayers, like sermons that every scout is expected to go to, and there's one for almost every religion, and of course the one that is always the most packed is the Christian one because one they keep it the closest they keep it closest to the center of camp, and it's the one that they encourage. And then like there's the Judaism, which they literally have like on the opposite side of camp where we I decided to go with like I had Jewish friends, so they were going to that one. So I decided to go with. We literally had to hop in a car and ride for 15 minutes just to get over to the area where the actual meeting was going to be taken place because it was that de-incentivized. There was only like 8 people there total because you have to actually really care in order to go over there when they make the Christian one so openly and easily available because it's the one that they support and the one that they want you to be linking to them.
I just realized that my audio hasn't been picked up for quite some time. Holy shit. Uh, I had it turned down because I was eating a piece of garlic bread. I'm an ass. Uh, Jesus Christ. Uh, well, that's embarrassing. Um, so even the layout of the camp incentivizes indoctrination and like alliance with the founders' ideals. They
Oh, there's
they punish you for being not Christian by putting like non-Christian centric religious like spaces clear on the other side of the camp.
yeah. Um they have 3 areas of the camp and there's 3 areas. There's the best one that's right close to the cult shop, and then there's the worst one, which is on the opposite side. And if you want to go to certain merit badges, you have to walk across like almost 2 miles of distance just to get there. And then there's the medium one. So it's basically a decision of they decide how valuable you are to them, and then they disperse you accordingly.
So, internal power structure that creates conflict with other members. Uh,
Yep.
homog- Homogenized cultural appropriation. Religious indoctrination. Grown men painting naked children's bodies. Private shower houses. If
Yeah.
if my viewers aren't understanding why I'm calling this a pedophile sex cult yet, uh, then they're blind.
It's also really like more than just the superiority complex. There is a vast majority of the camp that is just cut off if you're not in the group, because they have white rocks all throughout the camp, and it's basically, if you're not in the group, you can't go down these paths. And like, they are the more convenient and quick paths to get to where people want to go. They are the shop for the cult, which is the only place in the entire camp that has air conditioning. There's there's another hut in the there's a section of the camp that is like basically the cult home base that holds like the gathering ground, and different meeting spots for the members of the cult. And there's this building in it that's basically where you go and sign up and give them your name and tribal name, because they force you to pick a new name, which is also another heavy indoctrination tactic, because you're no longer you. You are the name that they have given you.
What other forms of indoctrination were you put through when you were a member of this cult? Like, other than the starvation and the vow of silence?
There were starvation vows. You were expected to, like, the very first thing you're expected to do, because like, if you are what they consider too young or not progressed in scouting enough, they give you something called a foxman stick, and then sit you out. They tell you to go and sit alone and think for at least 4 hours without anyone around you about what you would like your name to be in their group. Basically, making you think about the group dedicatedly before you're even allowed to be in. When you come back next year, they basically imprint that desire on you there.
So from the beginning, they try to make you believe that even existing on their property is an honor that you have to cherish.
Yes. Coming from Texas, we were not well liked throughout the camp, because we were outsiders. Even there, even people who were in the group were still considered not like as in the group as everybody else, because we came from far away.
Someone in the chat is asking what all this is about. Basically, my friend Ruby here, say hello again, Ruby.
Hi.
Has informed me that there is a secret society racist pedophile Boy Scout cult called the Tribes of Micosay. That openly affiliate themselves with Boy Scouts despite not being an official Boy Scout troop, and not only homogenize and appropriate indigenous culture, but also allow grown men to paint and wash the bodies of naked children, some as young as literally 11, although the youngest at the camp that Ruby says she went to was 13. And indulge in indoctrination policies such as vows of silence, isolation, starvation, and even sleep deprivation in order to form an almost terror-based loyalty to the cult. There's also heavy religious indoctrination, and from what I could tell from my research, large amounts of allegations of sexual abuse among the adult members.
They also have had some surprisingly famous and notable members, like U.S. attorneys, congressmen, people who are in the House of Representatives. Like, they aren't just some random cult that never has had anything to do with anything. They're actually people who have held positions of power in the past. They are a very active part like even though they're not officially associated with Boy Scouts, they like to try really hard to convince you that they are.
Especially since they're so openly affiliated with the Order of the Arrow, which is a legitimate non-cult group. As a minor, should I stay here? I don't know if this subject is safe for you, Protodire, but you asked what was going on, and I wanted to make sure to explain. If you feel unsafe listening to this topic, I won't make you stay. I know it's you, Ren. You don't have to. But yeah, if you are watching this and you are a minor, I would recommend not staying, if only because of the dark subject matter. If you do choose to stay, maybe get your parents so that they can know not to send you to this fucking camp.
Yeah, the main thing to know for anyone who is still in Boy Scouts, if they bring up Camp Bartle, just say no. No.
Camp Pipestone or Camp Bartle. Those are the two that are
Yeah.
owned by this cult. How would you say the affiliation between Boy Scouts and Tribe of Micosay affected your association with the idea of scouting as an adult?
Heavily negatively, in fact. Because of the fact that my old troop is so heavily indoctrinated. Once I realized, hey, this is all awful and bullshit, I suddenly couldn't associate with my previous troop. That combining with the fact that I was trans in Texas, so that kind of ran me off from my troop after I got Eagle Scout, anyways.
That's fair. Have you been able to connect with other scouts who survived this abuse and have separated themselves from the Tribe of Micosay?
Nope. Separating yourself is actually surprisingly unlikely in this group. Because what happens is most people go through it, they believe it's entirely normal, and then they just never do anything about it because, in their mind, they've been so desensitized by having everybody around them say it was normal that they don't even ever realize that, hey, this is a cult. And I don't keep in touch with many people from my old troop, so I legitimately would not know if other people have realized that it was all bullshit. Because that's the thing, like, there is a very, very, like, strong sense of secrecy in the group where it's just like, you are not supposed to. The first rule of Fight Club is that you do not talk about Fight Club. Yeah, they don't want you talking about it at all near non-members. Non-members are not allowed to know any details at all.
So the
Other
fact that you're
than,
here talking about it with me would get you in a lot of trouble if you were still a member.
oh, definitely, it would probably get me like kicked straight on out if they knew it was me.
I fully expect to be hearing from them by the time this stream is uploaded onto YouTube.
Oh, definitely. Probably telling you to never talk about them again and or trying to get my name, which won't work because that's not my real name. Legal name.
I don't know your dead name. How am I supposed to know
Yeah.
your fucking dead name? I've only ever
Yeah.
known you as Ruby.
Yep, and that's all they'll ever know. And they'll never find me. And even if they do, fuck them.
And I will be doing a formal intro explaining all of the core information for people who don't want to watch the full stream on my channel. But I'm going to take a clip of this to put in that video. Let me make this clear to the leaders of the tribe of Micosay. The more you try to silence me, the angrier I get. Ask any of the pedophiles I've covered over the past 2 years.
There's also the bonus of I have not been able to find a single YouTube video like saying anything negative about the cult. So whenever this comes out, other people who have realized this might actually come out with more serious information about the group, being like feeling validated in their emotions now.
Oh, absolutely. And if anyone else who was a member, especially if you were sexually abused by a member of the tribe of Micosay, wants to reach forward, hit me up on Twitter. I'll give you my Discord handle and we can talk privately. I'm always happy to hear from victims and survivors who want to have their experiences elevated and shared, because I know what it's like to be silenced by a power imbalance that's actively utilized by predators to silence you. I understand how terrifying that can be, and I want to be a vector for getting justice. So if you are watching this and you were abused at either Camp Pipestone or Camp Bertle by a member of the tribe of Micosay, please reach out to me at any of the social media at the bottom of the screen, and I'd be happy to talk with you. So, Ruby, what are there any specific experiences while you were at Camp Bartle that stick out to you as an adult?
There was the fact that they had me do all the manual labor stuff while I had like my thumb cut half open. I still have the scar from that, and that was a horribly painful experience that like the cut just kept getting more dirty and infected, and it was just bad for a long while. It took forever to heal.
So they
That
had a miner perform manual labor, unpaid manual labor, while injured without giving first aid?
they slapped a band-aid and Bactroban on it.
On an open wound?
Yep. A band-aid and Bactroban is all they saw it fit to do.
And then
And I
they put you back
this
to manual
knife.
labor immediately.
No, the thing is, I cut my thumb open, and then they brought me to the ceremony and had me do everything associated with that immediately afterwards, going like, this is more important than the fact that you're injured.
So they made you do more physical labor before giving you first aid. And even then, it wasn't competent first aid.
The thing is, it was my troop who didn't care. Like, my troop saw me get hurt because I was whittling. I cut my thumb half open. And it was just time for us to go to the campfire where they actually take the Braves for the first night. And they knew that I was going to get taken. So they basically said, instead of actually competently taking care of my injury and like dressing the wound properly, they slapped Bactroban on it, slapped a band-aid on it, and told me to get going because I needed to be indoctrinated.
That's every kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it was an incredibly like uncomfortable experience because not only was I being told all these things and expectations that I couldn't live up to, I had a wound the entire time while I was rooting around in dirt and grass trying to pick sticks up for giant piles of logs.
It's no wonder you still have a scar.
Yeah.
That's every kind of not safe.
Then another thing. Oh, right. So when you first so you do everything for the first time. Then they bring you to like the massive meeting ground, and they do it's like this ceremony. It's this massive ceremony where they have you do this intricate dance. They have you drink this disgusting concoction, and they like brush sticks across your back, and all while ranting some lunacy about some fake story they made up. It's just so fucking weird. And it's like I remember feeling viscerally uncomfortable this entire time.
Would you say that the situation made you feel unsafe in a predatory way? Like, do you think that these people were doing this for dangerous reasons as like an excuse to abuse minors?
Um I the thing is, I believe that most of these people believe their bullshit. Like I know like a lot of the people who they had working on those things and doing that are just people who have been brought up in the cult for so long that they just believe the bullshit. The issue is there are some people who don't believe the bullshit and use that to abuse people. Even worse than the cult already guarantees is going to happen.
So the fact that people don't believe testimony in a way makes things worse.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I remembered is they. I was talking about the White Rock areas. Some of them are like special paths that let you get places to other places, but some are just actually legitimate dangerous areas where you can get hurt very easily that you're just allowed to go to now that you're part of the group. There was an area on the edge of a cliff that you're allowed to go to once you're a brave, and it's like a 80-degree slope, just an entirely rocky surface. There's no actual physical pathway down. It's just this massive slope that they just suddenly let teenagers, like 13 to 14-year-olds, climb around on without any supervision. And the rocks slid out from under me, and I went tumbling down that hill about 50 feet before barely saving myself using like a plastic apparatus I had in my hands to slow the descent. I literally cut my hands up on the way down trying to stop my fall.
And no one provided you any assistance. You were completely
Nope.
unsupervised.
Yep. I literally I tumbled and fell down. Then I had to climb back up on my own. And then when I told everybody what happened, they're like, "You're not that injured. That's not what actually happened."
So they gaslit you.
And this was members of my own troop. Like they were members of the group, but like they weren't like high-ranking members. This is just what the group wants you to do, because it's like it's your fault, not the group's fault for putting you into a dangerous situation.
The more you tell me about this group, the angrier I get.
Yeah.
What made you want to come forward about all this?
The thing is, I never really thought much about it until I told one of my partners a few months back, and like they started looking into it, and they flipped out and were really angry and wanted to find some way to expose the group, but they don't have any form of platform to actually do an expose. So I was like, well, this is a thing. We are now aware it's a thing. If it ever comes up as an opportunity to expose it, I am more than happy to do so. And now here we are.
So this is a decision that you had made a while ago, and you're only just now acting on it because I'm a YouTuber with over 1,500 subs, which is still incredibly small. but it's a platform that you can use.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for anyone to see what's going on here. Because I'm just one person and I can only speak from my experiences. So if I just tried to go in alone and speak out about this, it's very possible that I would just get dogpiled on by members of the group who are like, you shouldn't be talking about this. Because
I could see why that would make standing up to them a lot more intimidating of a choice to make.
Because the thing is, like, it's not like you're just. That's the thing. Like, it was my entire troop was involved in this. So exposing this would mean ruining my relationship permanently with everybody in my entire troop. It's a system that keeps you in because you can't leave at that point because everybody you know is in it. As long as you're in scouting.
Then why take that risk now?
Because I have a different life a long way away from where I used to be, and I have long grown past caring about people disliking me.
Absolutely valid. I understand completely. Do you have anything you want to say to any potential Boy Scout members or Scouts in general that might be at risk of being indoctrinated by this group?
Just remember that they can't force you to do anything. Like, you can say no. You can just decide that you don't want to do it. You can just decide that you're not going to put up with this and that you can just turn away from their calling you and just go. You can continue to sit down and they'll just call the next person. You can refuse and you can just not do it. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. This is a horrible, fucked up system that if your troop is actively participating in, I highly encourage you to just find another troop in your area. There are so many supportive Boy Scouts groups that will actually help you grow as a person and actually get to Eagle Scout and earn that respect that's actually associated with Boy Scouts, not this fucked up organization that manipulates people into working for them for free.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Ruby. Although the subject matter was incredibly terrifying, I'm always happy to have friends on the show. And if you are above the age of 18, viewers, I would recommend you follow Ruby Gemstone at Cracked Ruby on Twitter and check out her writing because she's an incredibly talented creator and deserves all of the attention and all of the monies. Please.
Money.
Go give my friends some attention and some support. I would love to see y'all do that.
I do have a Patreon where I release stories at least twice a week and before anyone else can get it online.